Hi, I'm Lily Simon and this is my 8.4 assignment for fitness testing. So when you're training for cricket, usually you would have about 2 to 3 strength and conditioning sessions per coming week, and these would be addressing these various fitness components that are absolutely vital to any cricketer, and these include balance, speed, strength, as well as coordination. So when these aspects have been focused on by you as an athlete, it's been proven time and time again that the strength and conditioning is the key component to injury reduction as well as prevention. So if we take a fast bowler, the following components should be emphasised when they're training. So their base strength, their core strength, rotational strength, explosive ability, joint mobility, single-legged strength, as well as balance training. So a quick example of a specific training for a bowler would be a goblet squat. So this involves taking a dumbbell with both hands and hanging it vertically between the both hands and keep it a little away from your chest. Feet should be shoulder width apart and your toes should be pointing forward. And you should keep all your weight in your heels and your knees and toes in line when moving downwards in the sitting position. Try to have your elbows touching your knees when at the end of the movement and keep your back straight. So these are the different types of tests that my client performed. So we had the 35-metre sprint test, the stalk test, the Illinois agility run, the vertical jump test, the hand grip test, and the press-up test. So all of these recommended training exercises should also be performed around 3 to 4 times a week by my client. This is due to her doing regular exercise and therefore being quite fit generally. So therefore the amount of training will benefit her and also allows her to have some rest days in between all of that. So the first test we did was a 35-metre sprint test, and my client's results showed as her having 6.5 seconds, and compared to this normative data here, 6.5 seconds was just in the fair range. And this test was to perform and find out the speed. So this test was one of my client's weaknesses. This is because she only got a fair result compared to normative data, and therefore she needs some improvement. So the recommendations would be, so the high intensity shuttle run, and to do this I would say do about 2 reps and 4 sets, as well as doing a hollow sprint, and this is also 2 and 4 sets. So doing this high intensity shuttle run, doing these different recommendations will help her have power in her legs, and therefore meaning her strides will become more powerful, allowing her to have more speed and therefore have a quicker result time. Speed endurance training should also form the later part of the pre-season training and in the season training. It is important to develop a solid fitness base beforehand, and this includes strength and endurance conditioning. So therefore no more than 2 different speed endurance sessions should be required, and this may reduce to once a week during competitive seasons. And because the speed endurance training can be very demanding, we should be able to keep these sessions due to about 20 to 30 minutes maximum a week. So the rest interval should also consist of active recovery exercises such as walking and jogging slowly, just on the spot or around somewhere. So this high intensity shuttle run includes to pace out 30 metres on the grass or a running track and place a cone at the start at a 5-metre interval. So therefore that should count about 7 cones altogether. And then you should sprint from the starting cone to the 5-metre cone and then back. Turn and sprint to the 10-metre cone and come back to the start. Then sprint to the 15-metre cone and back to the start, and so on until you sprint the full 30 metres and back. You should then be resting for 90 seconds and then be able to repeat this and do a total of 6 sets and keep the resting periods to 90 seconds. So that's why I did 2 reps and then 4 sets. This is due to her intensity should not be that high and due to she shouldn't do that much regular exercise, so therefore these 2 reps and 4 sets should make the intensity low and therefore easier to build up upon and therefore reduce the amount of injury. So this hollow sprint test, so this includes to set out 5 cones out in the 30-metre intervals. So sprint 30 metres, then jog 30 metres, sprint 30 metres, jog 30 metres to the final cone. Then you should turn around and repeat all of this, always alternating jogging and sprinting throughout the whole workout. So then you should be able to work for 2 minutes and then rest for 2 minutes. All of this is just counts as one set. So therefore I said do about 4 sets and 2 reps. So that's that one. The second test we performed was the stalk test, and my client's results counteracted as having 52.71 seconds. And compared to this normative data, that was completely over the whole excellent. So that means, well, she was outstanding. She completely was so much better than that normative data. So this stalk test is also to test the ability of balance on the ball of the foot. And as you can see, compared to the normative data, that this test was a complete advantage due to my client performing very well. So, but we can still give recommendations to always help improve. So the recommendations I would give is to give a single leg deadlift, and this deadlift is the balance on your left foot to engage the abs and bend forward at the hips while reaching towards the ground with your right hand. You should hold on to a 5 to a 10-pound weight, and then also raise your right leg behind you for a counterbalance. And this, you should also tighten your butt cheeks as a return to start the position. You should also keep your knee relaxed and back flat throughout the movement. You should also then switch legs. So that's just 1 rep, and I would say to do about 8 reps and about 3 sets for that one. And the second recommendation I'll give would be a one-legged squat, and this is to stand with your feet hip width apart, point your left foot out in front, just barely touching the floor for the balance, and to push your hips back and down into this challenging one-legged squat position. Your right knee should be bent, your chest should be upright, your eyes should be forward, and your arms out front. And slowly you should push up and return to the starting position. You should then switch feet and be sure that the knee doesn't always push in front of the toes. So I would also say to do about 6 reps and 2 sets for that recommendation. The third test we're moving on to is the Illinois Agility Test. And so my client's results were timed as 19.5 seconds, and considering and compared to this normative data, that is shown as average. That is bang in the middle of the average. So as these results, we can see that my client's score was average, and therefore it is more of a disadvantage rather than an advantage. So therefore she can still improve on her agility. So therefore the recommendations I would give are specialised for cricket. So therefore I would give her the agility reaction balls, and agility in general is good for cricket as it will benefit you on how quickly you can twist, turn and change direction at speed, and this is great for running between the wickets and turning to chase in the field. So these agility balls would help with that, as you never know which direction they're going to bounce in. So how this would happen would be to get a partner, and for that partner to stand at different distances away from you, so 5 metres, 10 metres, 15 and 20 metres, and therefore throw and bounce the reaction ball to get my client to catch it as quick as they can. So this will help with agility and the ability to change direction quickly. So also the reaction is very vital in cricket, so therefore it will benefit my client and help her to become good at catching the cricket ball. I would also recommend to do about 5 reps and 4 sets, but every set should be the change and different type of throw of the ball, so therefore my client can then react better to it with the change of direction and the pace that the ball is coming to be thrown towards. So the different passes could be a bounce pass, a right side bounce pass, a left side bounce pass, and also an overhead. So then also let it bounce and then to see how high it goes. So that would act as when the cricket ball has been hit by the cricket bat. It can go up high, so therefore you never know which direction it will be in, and therefore the reaction ball will help as you'll be aiming to catch from the sky. But also, these different types of throws will help with variation, so therefore my client won't be so bored with just the same boring agility catch. So therefore it helps with making it less boring. So the second recommendation I would give is to have shuffle cones. So these would be set 7 different cones in a pattern shown. So for example, you could use letters like the letter M, the letter N, the letter I, the letter T, and the letter Y. So you could also select which order you would like to create these patterns in with those letters. So what you should be able to do when those patterns are laid out, you should touch each cone that creates the letter as you move through each pattern at a pace that is appropriate to you. Depending on your different fitness level, you may choose to walk, skip, jog, sprint, or shuffle to it. And after you have completed each letter with your movement pattern, you should change the order of the letters and try it again. So for an increased cardiovascular challenge, you should try facing the same direction. So therefore, you create each letter and move the cones further apart. So if you're working with a partner, you could do it with a little bit of competition as well. You could also time yourself. This should also help with the variation to keep it less boring, as it's a bit of competitivity. So you could time yourself and also trade turns to make up the different types of letters. So, and over this one, I would say to do about 3 reps and 1 set of each letter. So just do each letter about 3 times. But therefore, at the end of it, you should have completed about 5 sets of the 3 reps. And this is because of the 5 different letters that I have explained. So therefore, for each letter, you just do 3 reps, only 1 set, and then just change after that to a different letter for the bit of variation. So this is still keeping the intensity quite low due to my client only playing cricket twice a week. So the 4th test was the vertical jump test, and the results were the 38.5 centimetres, and compared to this normative data here, 38.5 centimetres was in the average zone again. So therefore, as my client score was only an average compared to the normative data, it is also then shown as a weakness. So therefore the recommendations would be, I would say, when you're training for power, the quality of movement is more important than the quantity of repetitions. So you should be able to perform short sets with maximal intensity, interspersed with the rests are long enough for you to work at a maximum intensity during each set that you perform. So I would recommend to do squat jumps. So squat jumps develop power in your lower body, and this will improve your vertical jump. So to stand with your feet shoulder width apart and your hands by your sides, you should bend your knees and push your butt backwards and descend into the squat position, and whilst simultaneously swinging your arms behind you, and dynamically swing your arms forward and leap straight up into the air and get as much hang time as you can. On landing, you should bend your knees and absorb the impact and descend into another repetition. So that's just a squat jump. But also within the squat jump, I'd also say to do dumbbell squat jumps. And for God's sake. So the dumbbell jump squats take the vertical jump in biomechanical demands of the squat, but with just a little bit more of the weight. So this will improve the explosiveness, but also within the same pattern as a jump squat. So it's exactly the same, but holding a weight. And I would say to do about 5 reps of either or both of these squat jumps. and to do about 3 to 5 sets.